Okay, hi, hello. Welcome back to my live stream. Devraj here, just jumped off another live stream on another channel and have come onto this one. Let's see if this thing is going to work. Oh, yes, looks like it is. That's good. Anyway, had quite a, I guess not super busy week. You know, January was really, really busy for me as a therapist and a workshop leader, clients and workshops going on here and there. And February so far is a little more peaceful. I've got spiritual boot camp next weekend. I just ran a one-day bioenergetics in Brighton, and that was good fun. And God, sorry, I just had a 2-minute break in between live streams from a different channel, and stuffed a load of peanuts into my mouth to give me some sustenance. But I may have overdone it a bit. But anyway, you know, the main thing that I've really got going on is moving to Brighton. And, you know, really wanting to step up while I'm the last 17 years, basically, you know, and it's quite a female-dominated environment, or quite a feminine energy, which was great. You know, but now coming back to Brighton, I'm going to be most of the week in Brighton. I'm still running a program here at Leela, but I'll be mostly in Brighton. Some of you've seen new videos from my flat, rather bare at the moment. But I'm going to be doing some more step-up male kind of stuff and really develop that kind of work. Starting off with me and a friend of mine from a group, Dan, we're going to go on Friday evening at 6:30, meet on Brighton Beach on the shingle there and do some bioenergetics and jump in the sea and seeing how many other people who want to, you know, take some challenges are going to join us. I just created a meetup group called Man Up Brighton for men or women who want to work on the male side. So, you know, I'm going to be doing more and more of that kind of stuff, and just a few radical things and innovations and just doing weird stuff out in the world a little bit, just to attract a bit of attention. You know, I've been tuning in a lot to David Goggins and guys like this, Jocko Willink, you know, and they're really, you know, it's very clear to me now, you know, that this whole relationship between comfort and development is an exact relationship. The more that you're addicted to comfort, the less development you will get. It's just simple as that. It's just simple as that. So I want to work from that perspective this year, you know, really developing the discomfort stuff. And I've been practicing it myself. I don't mind a bit of running, but I don't like it so much. But I got up the other morning, yesterday morning, and just and did a 10K run along the Brighton seafront, you know, which I hadn't done for a couple of years. And just to do it, you know, it was more of a jog than a run, to be honest, as I'm no great runner. But, you know, just to do that, you know, at sunrise, just before sunrise, in the cold, just wearing a vest, all the other runners looking at me like I'm a nutter, you know, just to kind of challenge myself on that level. And I've been walking around Brighton in my T-shirt when it's like about 2 degrees, you know, attracting a lot of people thinking, who's this nutter, you know, and just doing stuff like that. I may go out and do a bit of cold training in Regency Square some morning if it snows or something. Hopefully the winter lasts a bit longer. It'll be good for it. But just kind of stuff to attract a bit of attention for people who are looking to really take on this kind of, looking to work with discomfort, because it's a big part of bioenergetics. By the way, good evening, guys. Thank you, Luigi, Tiamo, and Mohammed. You're in early today, Mohammed. It's nice to see. Thank you, guys. But there are people out there, I think, instinctively starting to look in this direction. So I really feel, you know, that's where I'm being pulled personally to work with discomfort, and where others are getting interested, you know. And the bottom line is, you know, you can't expect any development to really happen for you unless you're willing to come out of your comfort zone. That is just that's just how it is, as far as I can tell. You know, so I'm going to be working on that premise quite a bit. And I've been developing some of these challenge exercises, which are, you know, it's interesting stuff, you know, interesting stuff for challenge exercises, because what you see at some point when you stick with them is like your whole relationship to pain starts to change. Not that you start to love pain in necessarily, you know, that would be quite extreme, I think, but rather that you start to question the need to avoid it, you know, and also the big thing that comes from doing some of these challenge bioenergetics is you can experience being in real fucking pain, you know, really major, you know, like part of your arm really burning like crazy, like your mind telling you, you've got to drop this. And you just up your breathing and the whole pain disperses and dissipates. You know, it's like it becomes, instead of being localized on one point, it starts to spread out across the whole arm or the whole body, you know. So there is this kind of strange energetic effect that happens with the experience of pain when you really go into it and breathe, because what we mostly learn with pain when we want to go through it is to kind of harden up, tense, grin and bear it, as they say in English, you know, just keep on going in this state of tension. But of course, that's also locking the body in. It's locking the pain in, rather, you know, it's locking the body and holding the pain in. And I don't think it's such a good practice. So I'm looking to really capitalize on this. I see a bit of a gap. I've been listening to, just finished listening to David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, which is a lot about pain and how he learned to function with pain and how pain became such a big teacher for him. And I'm just looking at what was interesting to me about Goggins' book was, like, at the end, basically, he starts to talk about the changes he had to make in the last couple of years. So a lot of the book, 99% of the book, is all about, you know, going through pain. And then at some point, right at the end, you start to hear the reality, which is the truth that he was finally confronted with, was that he had to somewhere stop hardening from the pain, and actually allow the feelings more and get the tension out of his body, you know. And this is where I see straight away I had a big aha moment, light bulb moment, where from Goggins' book, you know, that essentially this is what bioenergetics is offering. It's got quite intense challenge exercises, but they also loosen the body rather than hardening it. They loosen the body rather than hardening it. And so, you know, once again, I've said it in the past, lots of people have said it in the past, this practice is fucking amazing. You know, it has incredible potential to resolve stuff on pretty much every health level and vitality level. Has the bow and arch on its own, if it's the only exercise you ever fucking learned, you know, if you stepped it up and kept on going and really worked with it, you know, over time it would resolve phenomenal amounts of stuff, and it would keep on upping your energy. You know, I did this 10K run and my legs are hopelessly unbloody fit. Do a bit of bow and arch afterwards, and I'm pretty much back to normal. Had a bit of trouble walking down the stairs later in the day, but today I feel, yeah, I could go charging off and do it again, you know, no problem. So there is a lot, you know, it's just becoming visible to me more and more, just how much is in this practice, just how much potential is in it, you know. And in the past, because people have been saying since the 60s that bioenergetics was going to take off, you know, and in that time, things like yoga have taken off, you know, things like mindfulness have taken off, you know, some things have made it big. Most things haven't, but bioenergetics certainly hasn't taken off in that time. But this is another angle that's coming into our culture now, in the same way that we're really recognizing that young men have no more role models any longer, and the mainstream media has been taken over mostly, by the look of it, by liberals who basically think that all men, masculinity is wrong, essentially. It's created a huge gap in the market, which is being filled predominantly by YouTube and by young men going on there looking for people to be role models and looking for information about masculinity. And guys like Jocko Willink or David Goggins and similar, you know, coming out of special forces and basically talking about what they went through and stuff like this, and bringing a new understanding of pain and discomfort into the mainstream slowly. And one of the knock-on effects from that I'm trying to capitalize on a bit, or will be this year, is that bioenergetics offers a way to, you know, go through pain, but not to lock it into your body, because the danger is when you just run through it, you know, when you just carry on doing the deadlifts or whatever it is, or you just carry on hanging, you know, you harden something inside, but in a not useful way, and you end up with your body like one big knot, which is what David Goggins described his body back in something like 2015, 2016, and that he had to deal with. And I didn't hear him mention bioenergetics in the book, but it seemed like he did a lot of stretching work, and that was what he needed. And with this bio, you add the stretching and you add the breathing, and it starts to unlock everything bit by bit, because working with the body, it doesn't happen overnight. But so I'm just seeing there's a lot of, it's like I'm mining a kind of vein in the culture somewhere, but that's where I'm going to go in now that I'm more based in Brighton. And when I'm back there tomorrow, I'm going to start creating more general content for people and all more local stuff in Brighton, where people can come along and get a chance. and have an experience. Have an experience of going through basic pain barriers. Giving themselves the chance to do that. I regularly run a 1 hour group here at Leela a couple of times a week usually, and we've been doing the crucifix, and people, you can see people are in pretty quick straight up in the discomfort, but you breathe your way through it. And several people have reported to me experiencing this sudden delocalization of the pain. It's like the mind gives up the story at some point about the pain delocalizes and becomes more of an energetic experience. I've had this experience quite a few occasions, and it's fucking awesome. Okay, guys, what's the title, please? A title of possibly you could look for Man Up Brighton. That's a meetup group that I just started, which is going to have. Hopefully, I'm going to try and do something once a week for free. Basically, maybe it's for free, but it's going to be pretty fucking challenging. So you have to decide if you want to come along, of course. Such as the first one that I'm doing, which a couple of guys have signed up for already, is this Friday at 6:30. We're going to meet on Brighton Beach, opposite the world famous Pump Room, a big pub there for Brightonians, on the shingle, and we're going to do bow and arch. I'm going to demonstrate bow and arch. We're going to do bow and arch, and then jump in the sea, which will no doubt be cold as fuck by that time. Then go for a sauna up the road in the Queen's Hotel, and then go for a pint later. So it'll be a couple of hours in all, or 2 or 3 hours, mostly pleasurable hanging out, and with a nice big challenge exercise to begin with. The title of the book. The book was called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Yeah. Came out last year. I didn't read it. I listened to the audiobook version on Audible, and I found it fascinating. There's also a very good Joe Rogan interview with him about the book from last year. You can look it up. Let's catch up on the chat here. How to deal with ambivalence. You mean like more like not really being bothered about things? It can sometimes be good to have some level of neutrality. Neutrality is a good quality as long as it doesn't sink into some form of depression or something like that. In many ways, we kind of, when I was young, I was just on a constant roller coaster between kind of borderline depression and consuming a lot of alcohol, and sort of raging highs when I really felt good about myself. And that continued through my 20s into my 30s. But, there's something to be said for neutrality. So, that can be okay. At the same time, if it's a kind of what's the word? Torpor, a torpor where you just don't move. Sometimes you just need to fucking do something, regardless of what your mind thinks about it. Recognize that that the part of your mind that is comfort addicted is no friend of yours. You can let it have a bit of control over you and give you some comfort, but if you give it too much control, your life is fucked. Simple as that. It's fucked. Comfort addicted mind ain't going to give you very much in the long run. It's going to give you very, very little. And you need to recognize at times when, you're simply not standing up for yourself. Sometimes I just sitting here tossing around. I said, fuck it, do 20 press ups in the kind of lizard fucking style, and I just do it, I just fucking do it, even though sometimes it hurts like fuck, and it takes me a while to do them because I'm not super press up king, to say the least. It's just something to change the energy of the moment, so you don't get too stuck in cyclical daily patterns. It's important. I hope that's useful, TMO. Hi all, finding bioenergetics incredibly useful. I wake up most mornings with intense anxiety, very contracted. Bow and arch resolves 90% of it and lasts for hours. Yes, man. Exactly my own discovery. You're replicating I totally agree. Bow and arch is awesome for any level of anxiety, And the good thing about it, it's not just like a corrective thing that you do, every day and then it goes back to zero. Each time you do it, especially if you really check the posture and you really check for you're breathing deep through the mouth, you clear a bit of the anxiety. You actually clear it. It actually goes little by little. You dig into the anxiety. You open up the lower backs of the legs and around here. If you do the arm stretch with it, and slowly, you come to a place where you wake up in the morning and you won't have much anxiety. So you get a double benefit. One, you get yourself clear for the day, and two, each time you're going a little bit deeper into it. So thank you for putting that out, JW. Yeah, David Goggins, great book. Next book I'm going to read on Audible, you get 1 a month, is Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership. I want to check that guy out as well. But, I'm not ex-Navy SEAL by any means. But nevertheless, I did do quite a lot of hardcore therapy. And I'm looking at starting some of this kind of, just start some shit in the fucking shopping centre in Brighton or something, see if people get into it, whatever, walk around in shorts and t-shirt when it starts snowing in March, as it no doubt will, and just start some shit off, have some signs out. I might do a bit of outdoor cold training on the seafront, leave my card around and a notice, cold training, but I've got some ideas. I'll see if I get to them. Hopefully the winter lasts long enough for me to do them. Great to hear. Been doing 4 minutes bow and arch. Yeah, 4 minutes is a good one. It's a good one. I'm going to start doing some longer ones for that series of challenge bioenergetics, 5, 6, 7 and up. Maybe you can get to 15 minutes. So that's like a bloody hour and a half or something. Jesus. But maybe 2 times around. The thing with the when you get longer and longer into the bow and arch, of course, is the amount of time that you need to do it. Because a big factor with the bow and arch, of course, is that going around a third or even sometimes a fourth time is really beneficial. More kind of gets activated and can clear each time you go into the arch, and then back into the bow. So when I now do it quite often on 14 minutes down, 14 minutes back, then 14 minutes down again. But then that is already 3/4 of an hour, nearly 42 minutes. And it's quite a long time. So I don't feel to go and carry on going to do three times round. It's a long time to commit, and I've often got a bit of things to do. So that is a little bit of a stumbling block with the longer bow and arch. But at the same time, it does clear stuff. You go into deeper levels of kind of pain and stuff inside the lower back, and you breathe through it, and it does clear. So cool. 20 push-ups. I did it. Thanks. Oh, you just did 20. You just did 20. Well done, man. Will you talk more about the belly energy and working with it? That seems to be where most of my emotional shit is held. Is this midline from belly to throat? Well, no, the belly is just what I'm talking about. Yeah, let's go move my ass a little bit. Is around here in your gut, near the navel, belly button, and around there inside the body. That's for belly, when you talk about midline between belly to throat, is like you can develop an energetic connection between your belly and your throat. The way to do it, one way to do it is by making a lot of sound, and trying to make sound from your belly. Most people, when we make a lot of noise, we make it from the throat. We make it from the throat, and that doesn't really, it doesn't really create a lot. You get a little bit of release sometimes by making noise from there, but you want to try and make noise from your belly, and you kind of open up like a primate energy circuit that's there inside your body, and you can get down into your belly easily then, and then you can really have some gravity when you need it in a situation where you want to really, bring the situation back down to grounded reality. People can feel when you're in your belly, and then they listen to you. You have this kind of mob boss, mafia, godfather kind of energy, CEO, kind of heavy CEO energy. No one's gonna fuck with me, I'm the boss. That kind of feeling. So you can practice that by simply breathing down into your belly, making a little bit of vibration in the throat. If you follow some of my belly activation things and some other exercises that I've got there, which also loosen up other bits of the body. And practice just increasingly trying to make sound from your gut, trying to get down there into the belly. It's a matter of slowly removing the blocks. You can also work. The throat and the belly seem to be quite interlinked. I'm still getting a lot of burping, which is clearing tension from back of my heart, energetic level, and my neck and shoulders, and I'm still clearing that. And there is a linkage between the belly and the throat. I've never seen it in esoteric literature put out. I know a little bit of Kabbalah from the old days and stuff. I never really saw it put out completely. Well, actually, there's a little bit of intimation in the tarot, actually, but I won't go into all of that. But there is something very big that when you get the belly and the throat to start to connect up energetically, a lot of change can happen quite quickly. So I am kind of looking at other ways to get it open. My favorite still really, but I recommend for people, though it's a bit controversial in Western culture, is the gag reflex. 2 fingers down the throat, make sure you clean your fingers first, and get that, you don't need to vomit, but just get that reflex going. Get that reflex going like 6 times in a row. That does start to open up the throat. The throat on an energetic level or on a psychological level is very, very blocked in nearly all people. Pretty much everyone. I was nearly said Westerners, but you can go fucking anywhere in the world and people's throats are blocked. And this opening at the throat level, this feeling of being okay to put out whatever you want to put out in the moment, You know, it's a huge opening. It's a huge opening. So this belly throat circuit is interesting to me, and I haven't probably figured it all out, all the exercises to really get it going. Hopefully over time we get some more, you know, but there is some stuff on my YouTube channel about belly throat. Thanks for the question. It's a really interesting area to me. If I asked to pick one bioexercise to do the rest of your life, which one would you do? That would be the bow and the arch, because you know it addresses the central thing that the bioenergetics tries to address. You know, there's in terms of reducing holding patterns of the body, there's probably two basic areas of bio. One which works with the lower back and the backs of the legs and the shoulders, you know, which are areas of the body where where the brain tends to store old tension from emotional holding, from trauma, from self-conditioning, this kind of thing. And the other area of bioenergetics, which I also bring out, other practitioners don't always, is looking at certain somatic centers where the brain tends to contract because it doesn't want to feel too much there. Throat, energetic heart, and belly down here are the three main ones. So those are two kind of fields of bioenergetics. But the reality is, you know, everyone has got so much in their lower back, fucking shitloads, you know, and the backs of the legs, and around the back of the shoulders, back of the heart. And the bow and the arch starts to open these areas. So you could do the bow and the arch forever, and you'd get incredibly clear after a while, you know, just really clear, like a vertical energy inside of you. You know, it's really, really cool. It's fucking great. It's fucking great. So I would always recommend the bow and the arch as a staple exercise if you only had one thing. And it's a great exercise that you can work with increasing depth, you know. I don't know anyone who does it for like, I do it for like 14, 15 minutes down and up. I don't know anyone else even doing that shit, you know. Or, you know, you could take it up to 30 minutes, you know, and start to work like that over time. You need to make sure you got the position spot on before you start, or as you start to make progress from a bad position, and it's hard for the ego to then go back to zero and start again, which is what it needs to do. But bow and the arch definitely is the answer to your question. The thing, 40 minutes is a lot. Yeah, well, if you told me you got to be doing 40 minutes, I'd say, fuck you. No fucking way. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And you increasingly feel layers of pain and discomfort. I catch my own mind doing it, and I just try and breathe and feel into it, you know, and make a friend with the pain, you know. It's challenging. What does the bow and arch really solve? Anxiety, basically, bottom line. You know, most people who've got anxiety have got very high levels of stuff in the lower back, backs of the legs, repressed feelings, holding patterns, basically. And anxiety is not the only way of dealing with it. Depression is another way of dealing with it. But yeah, and often people vacillate a bit between both. But it's exceptional treatment for anxiety, essentially. If you know, you feel not okay, or there's times when you're really nervous about social interactions, about going for it at work, about going for partners that you really fancy, if you've got anxiety around those areas, over time, the bow and arch will warm up and correct a lot of that stuff, basically. Yeah, around the navel. Again, you know, that's an area where the ego likes to contract around there or pad it out. You know, you see fat guys usually got stuff going on in the belly, overweight guys, you know, it's a way of blocking it or tense, you know, different ways of making sure you don't feel that volatility in the belly, that wild energy that your mind is so scared of, you know, once on one level, fantasizes about on one level, but in reality, oh no, it's a bit much, you know. As you start to open the belly up, you know, you get that volatility, that kind of boxer-like volatility, you know, and it's a powerful male energy, essentially. And there's no reason that means that women can't get it as well. They can equally get it, if not more so than men. But, you know, it is challenging. I say more so because it's kind of the way society's gone in the last few years. It's really not okay to be totally volatile as a male, you know, but so men are a bit more scared of it. But, you know, it gives immense satisfaction, you know, having that male side volatility, you know, spontaneity there. And that is centered in the belly. Also centered in the belly is your capacity to hold safe boundaries, you know, to put out a no in a way that people will listen to you. You know, they'll feel you instinctively. You don't even have to say much. Because if they feel you've got the belly, you know, no bully will go near anyone who's got an active belly center. That's the last thing they're going to fucking do. You know, they find someone who's caught up in the throat, they can go and bully a bit, you know, and dump their shit on, you know. It's not good, but it's how society works. It's how it works. Let's check up your energy channel when you're starting to talk out of your belly. Yeah, talking from your gut, you know. You don't have to do it all the fucking time, but it's great to have that resource, like a ladder inside, you know, like you can talk from your throat, or you can talk from your heart, you know, and really relate to people and take people in. I'm okay, you're okay. I mean, you can come down in the belly like some kind of fucking mafia boss, you know, and put it out. You know, it's great as a person to have these different centers active, so you can choose, you know, who you want to be in this situation. You know, of course, not all situations do you want to be like the mob boss, you know, but if you got that side, it's quite funny. I just remembered, you know, I had a young guy. I won't say his name, came to a workshop of mine about a month ago, you know, and he was a good looking guy, could have been a Versace model, low 20s, you know, really good looking guy. And the women in the group in the community, oh, he's not bad. But he had a bit of a high voice, you know, and he started doing this belly stuff and his voice dropped about an octave. And the women were all just like, you know, just like, it's so powerful. You know, if you're a guy, you know, if you're a young man, you know, to be able to get your energy down in your belly, you know, like that, you know, it's pure masculinity. It's pure masculinity. You don't need to do anything much else, really. You know, you've got gravity and bottom, and then you know, you've got that side. It's sorted. And then, you know, if you want to go and be more feminine, you can do, but you've got your male side sorted. You know. When I'm in social situation, I find myself struggling to speak out. Can you please speak a little bit how a bioexercise can overcome this problem? I mean, the best thing you can do with that is work actually with anger and come to workshops. That's the first thing I'd say. But if that isn't available to you for money, location reasons or whatever, you know, because anger will clear that, you know, really going full blown into anger. But it's hard to do it outside of a group room or without a proper therapist there, you know. But if you haven't got that, then, you know, you need to get your throat open, you know, and do this belly activation stuff, you know, when you start, you know, breathing into the belly, you know, getting your knees bent, your ass down low, feet wide apart, the outsides of your feet roughly parallel, breathing into your belly and trying to get your center of gravity low, you know, make a bit of noise in your throat to try and create a vibration down to your gut. You can look up on YouTube my belly activation and just start doing that in the mornings. You know, you get more bottom. The tension in the upper body starts to decrease, and you feel more of this animal intensity. You know, and then, you know, you have that side. You know, I can get very caught up in my head still. You know, but like the reality is, I can notice it, and then I can feel down into my belly, and I'm okay. I'm okay. You know, I can just walk into a situation and start speaking. You know. Pull people on my side. So that's why I would say work at a gut level. Also the throat, if you know your throat is tight, you know, practice, assuming you don't have a history of eating disorders or stuff where, you know, you made yourself vomit, you know, then practice with a gag reflex. You know, people don't want to do it. They don't want the discomfort, you know, but the reality is if you've just got a comfort addicted brain, it doesn't matter how much therapy you do, you ain't going fucking nowhere. It's simple as that. If you're just going to listen to the comfort addicted brain, no chance. So go through it with a gag reflex as well if you feel to. How long does the effect last? Depends. I was thinking 90 seconds in the chair is easy. After 6 seconds, I was thinking, holy shit. Yeah. The thing with a chair exercise is you have to get your upper legs parallel to the floor, you know, horizontal. You can even use a spirit level because people cheat. And that exercise is also popular with people who do TRE because it was in the original TRE manual, trauma releasing exercises, for those of you who don't know. And, you know, there you start with, I think, with your upper legs like this, you know, 90-degree angle with the knee. And then you can push it up the back because you're trying to get into shaking, you know, shaking release. I'm going to do some more stuff with the chair. It's also good for my legs because I had a lot of ankle operations when I was a kid. And so it's good. So I'm going to do the chair. I think it's a bit my own resistance not to put it out. When I started to do a little bit of TRE, when the book first came out, David Bocelli, about a decade, 15 years ago, it was like the other exercise I found them a bit wimpy, you know, as my mind was at the time, a bit more yang then, you know. But now looking at, and the only thing that excited me was the chair because that was a motherfucker of an exercise. I thought, fucking hell, this is really a bastard, you know. But and that kind of got my respect, you know, being in that young male kind of mindset. But I'm going to do some more work with the chair. I have been avoiding it a little bit, so we're going to do some more with the proper chair. And you've got to really check that your legs are horizontal. My legs are burning. Yeah. And I actually had it because I just done a 10K run. I made this video about the thing, and I started within about 5 seconds. I was thinking, "Fucking hell, this is well over the top. I shouldn't have even started this video." But I thought, I'm talking about doing breathing and feeling, so I've got to breathe and feel. And I felt it in my upper legs. Really, I could feel this severe burning pain in my upper legs, really over the scalp. And I just thought, fuck it, I've got to breathe. I'm on video. And it fucking dissipated. It went shoom. Something changed completely. And that's the effect that you're really looking for with this exercise, because you're pretty much in pain pretty quick. Like, you don't have to wait too long, and you just see if you can keep going. Another breath, and not contracting. That's the thing. Not contracting, but saying, no, fuck it, I'm going to breathe, Yang, is it natural to tense the abdominal muscles mildly right when standing, walking to keep your posture straight? I'm not an expert on these things, but I would say yes. I think, I think a bit of belly tension, and the muscles aren't meant to be just kind of like that anyway, they're meant to have, they're also not meant to be completely like this, but they're meant to have natural resilience, because our muscle system, the flexibility in our muscle system reflects the flexibility and resilience in our emotional system. That's the bottom line for me. So it's not getting everything slack, when there's no awareness in there, and it's not getting everything tight. You've got to, whichever one of those perspectives you're coming from with your muscles, you need to get them into this kind of resilience. And I think it is natural sometimes to tense your belly a little bit. The thing is that you're not too, you're not over tensing it and creating, digestion problems or real pain and aches in your belly, and you're not got it completely flat and unresponsive and just bulging out because you're stuffing yourself with food, basically. I think so. I tend to loose my abdominal muscles all the time. I'm not an expert on it. Dave Deverage, yeah. People call me Dave. I basically want to be a tiger so I can better get my instincts back. Well, short of, being reincarnated as a tiger, man, you just have to work at it, First thing to do, don't blame anyone for anything, stop that. Second thing to do, if you want to be a tiger, tigers don't watch telly. And third thing you got to do is do belly activation every morning. Get up, do some fucking cold training, go out and do bow and arch in about 5 degrees, just wearing your boxer shorts. Do it for a year, you'll be a fucking tiger. I guarantee it. Fucking guarantee it, mate. Guarantee it. But, just doing it for a year, that means you've got to confront your comfort part of your mind that's comfort addicted, but just wants everything to be comfortable. That part of mind means you ain't never going to be no tiger, basically, even if you've got a ton of cash, So that's what I would say. Give it a go. If you're up for the challenge. What's up? It's good to see. How long have you been live? I've been live 33 minutes and 29 seconds. I suffer from muscle contractions due to social anxiety. So when I have difficulty walking, well, bioenergetics is a good, if you're clear that the muscle contractions or spasms or whatever they are, if you're clear that it's to do with anxiety, then you can work on that. I mean, that's good, really. Might not sound good in the moment, but if you know the cause of something and it's treatable, then that is actually good. Bow and arch, man. Start with a bow and arch. 1 or 2 minutes, and then build it up slowly, and do it every day. And breathe deep like an animal when you're doing it. Really breathe and feel your body breathing through the mouth, and it will start to clear the anxiety. And then hopefully these muscle contractions or whatever's going on will stop. But yeah, cool. That's my name. Yeah, I tried your leg stretch exercise. My legs start to shake when all my body, my breath becomes heavily shaking. Well, spontaneous shaking is basically good. Usually, I mean, I can't give too much personalized advice without doing a session with someone, but which I charge a bit of money for. But generally, spontaneous shaking is good. Often it is accompanied by a bit of fear, because we're not used to our body just starting to kind of kick off on its own, and people are like, whoa, what the fuck's going on here, But generally, you can be reassured that it is generally good. And the other classic symptom that you can get spontaneously doing these exercises is muscle tensing and tingling, hands tensing and tingling, legs, fingers, face, doing that, that happens occasionally, more commonly in breath work, but also in bio sometimes. And again, you can be reassured that it's pretty normal and actually quite good. You know, the shaking is quite good. Something is starting to be released spontaneously by the muscles without them bothering to check if the mind is okay with it. You know, the ego's okay with it. So it's good. The feminine is spontaneous, masculine is control. Well, whatever, you know, I don't really bother with too much of these things, because you see, when you do a lot of bio, you don't care about fairness anymore. It's not really important. You know, I could take it that way round or the other way round. I say I work with the male side often. I've also done a lot of work with the feminine side, you know, and the heart. But you know, those labels also could be swapped around. You know, a lot of them are cultural, as I see it. You know, we could easily be living in a culture where women were totally dominant and the men were all submissive. If you ever lived in community, you often see that. Certainly the Osho communities is exactly what happened. All the women became strong as fuck, and all the men became kind of passive and just happily getting along with each other. It's kind of curious. But I don't find, you know, I try to not get in too much of this mental categorization stuff, because to me, when you work with a body, it's not appropriate. You know, you're looking at the body, you're not looking at, you know, belief systems. Belief systems are rigidity, basically. That is the mental component of rigidity. Behind all belief systems, usually what you've got, essentially, they're just actually, you know, it sounds very clever to believe in this and believe in that and have this idea about politics and this idea about music and God knows what, you know. But in actuality, when you break it all down, is all belief systems, or 95% of them, exist to maintain rigidity in the muscle system, so we don't have to feel too much. That's for underlying, you know, that's what all the thinking is about. It's a hardened layer of thinking, carry on thinking, and you don't have to feel what's going on inside. So, you know, I try to stay out of, I'm not always successful. I try to stay out of belief systems a bit. I try to stay out of belief systems and all this categorization, just a little bit here and there to engage people. Or obviously sometimes you need to explain something, you know, but otherwise I try to stay out of too many belief systems. But less belief systems are better. Someone was messaging recently going on and on about his philosophy degree or something or whatever, and how he was still miserable despite having it. You know, what goes with the other? You know, who's going to study this shit? You know, the payoff on the deeper level of all this studying and learning and reading books. And people are always writing to me about all their books on bioenergetics and stuff. And I said, I haven't read any of these books, I'm afraid. You know, it's not, you know, you have to at some point come out of the idea that the mind is going to solve any of your problems. It might give you a couple of pointers here and there, but it ain't going to solve shit. The only way you're going to solve anything is by increasingly opening to discomfort in your body in an intelligent and progressive way. And like that, your sense of your body will expand, and with it, your sense of psychological health and your capacity for emotional resilience and flexibility, basically. Missing it. When I'm doing the arch, I get a feeling that the exercise is not working, and that's because I'm not feeling the pain like the bow weather problem. I mean, for some people, the arch is more intense than the bow. That's kind of a little bit, probably the majority. And for others, it's the other way around. You know, but all you can do is just really, really breathe. All you can do is just really, really breathe in the exercise and make sure you're still feeling your body and stick with it, you know. So, you know, and you can always try other exercises or hit me up sometime for a session. You know, I don't charge a fortune, and we can have a look what's going on in your body. On Skype, we can do quite a bit, you know. And yeah, I mean, that's it. I would stick with it, you know, or look at some other exercises that you maybe feel you know, drawn to. You know, sometimes intuitively we can spot something we need. Message changing. Are you a spiritual guy, by the way? Well, yes and no. You know, I've been around the scene a bit and stuff, but I don't really try. I try not to have any spiritual beliefs. You see, something you see when you've worked around the spiritual scene a lot, but you've worked with the body. What you see a lot is people who had very dysfunctional childhoods. You know, wounded egos, abandonment, invasion, abuse stuff going on, and they felt really fucked up through their teenage years. And at some point, it became attractive for them to kind of rebrand themselves as a spiritual person and start wearing robes and start talking a lot of waffle about the chakras or something. But, you know, the problem with this, of course, is that all the woundedness just sits underneath. It just sits underneath. So I even don't really agree with gurus so much these days, you know. I don't really agree with it. I think the more interesting people are more are really straight up, honest coaches the more interesting people in the planet. I think spirituality is a bit, it's a bit over. It's a bit over somewhere, something like that. A little bit over. Maybe it'll come back. Maybe it'll come back for me. But I don't really consider myself super spiritual. Could you make a video tutorial about I have made a video tutorial about rebirthing some years ago. I'm planning to do a rebirthing MP3, which will be a once I'm back in Brighton and kind of getting into a settled work routine with creating content. I'm going to do that. Rebirthing is a breathwork technique, by the way. But I will make something about 60 to 90 minutes long, like an MP3 that you can just put on in the background and follow along. Because the thing with rebirthing is that you need reminders. You need fucking reminders. Otherwise, people just space out all the time. So you need to be kept on track. And again, it's something where there's a real gap in the market. There aren't any good ones out there. There's a guy called Jeru Kabal and some of his followers. He's passed away now, who made a couple of CDs back in the day, or tapes they were then. But that aside, there's no real good rebirthing MP3s I've ever been able to find. Hey Dev, what would you recommend to get a quick release when you have not much time, like when you're tense driving? I don't know. I mean, you could, if you feel okay to, you shouldn't do it driving really, but just make some sound. Or the arch position I usually find quite releasing of anxiety. Just leaning forwards. That's probably what I would recommend. Also, once your belly's more active, just sitting down, breathing and feeling your belly, breathing a little more deeply in and out through the mouth would be my recommendations. And it won't be an ultimately super release, but if you just want to get yourself more in your belly and more centered so that you can deal with what's going on around you, then I'd recommend that. +1 to the guide. Yeah, the guided replay. It's on my list. It's on my list. I know I won't do it in one hit, so I just need to break it down into elements and then do it like that. Do it like that. Dum. Let's say to energize yourself again in 30 minutes after a car. Again, for me, car ride, bow and arch is good. It's a great. Once you're used to the practice, you can feel your body starting to open and release from certain key areas. I find, for me personally. Do you know or agree? I've heard of spiral dynamics, but I don't know much about it, I'm afraid. And the chances are I probably won't learn about it unless it's got something very interesting about body work and release in it, but which you may have. Have you heard about reprogramming the subconscious mind with audio affirmations for going to sleep? Does this get abundant, do you think? Yes, I have heard of these things, and I think they can be okay. I mean, for people, I've got clients with a lot of low self-esteem, and I had low self-esteem when I developed. It's a defensive posture, basically, to sometimes the extremeness of childhood. We develop as a safety, a way of keeping safe is to not have much self-esteem, essentially. And when you're something like that, then having positive affirmations, hey, I'm okay. Hey, I'm a good guy, is appropriate. I think audio affirmations can work for someone, but the thing you've really got to be careful with, you need to understand the midbrain and the body, because all this stuff goes a little bit in the higher mind, a lot of the time, to try and affirm that we're positive, even when you do it in your sleep a bit. And the danger, and you've got to understand that the role of the midbrain, one of its roles anyway, is to get the repression out of your body, because repressed emotions operate like a charge in the body. And then what the midbrain wants is you to go back into that charge, which means it tries to find ways to drag you into all the shit that's gone on in your life. It wants to drag you back because it's trying to release. It's not sadist. It's not trying to fuck you up. It might feel like it is, but you will be constantly driven back into the stuff where you've got fucked up until you can release the holding in your body associated with that trauma. And the danger is when you start to reprogram at a higher mind level or even a subconscious level, that you hijack that process and then you create a split between the mind and the body. And the body can, in some cases, that could lead straight into cancer. It could lead into any condition where the body has a capacity to unwrap negative genetic structures into the body because it feels disenfranchised, to a contraction at the throat, contraction at the neck, you're cut off there. And then your mind goes all positive and believes in yourself all the time, but your body is not on board. And, it's actually, in a way, better to be negative motherfucker and in touch with your body than it is to be positive and not in touch with your body. you know, because at some point, if you're positive and not in touch with your body, all that repression sitting in your muscle system will hijack the shit out of your life. It will hijack the shit out of it. So that's the only thing that I always lecture people about when when going on about reprogramming the conscious or unconscious or sub or conscious mind, whatever. You know, you've got to be careful, but feel free to do that stuff as well. You know, I don't think it's going to cause any big harm. It's just when people get totally reliant on it, you know, which is a bit what happened with NLP. You know, if you know the scene, you know, for a while back in the 90s and the early thousands, it was so early 2000s, it was so kind of popular and new. You know, everyone was just reprogramming all their thought patterns, and it fucked a lot of people up basically in reality, you know, because the unconscious mind, it wants to speak, it'll drag you in there. How do you handle people that can't adjust to your changing of development? Well, that's a very, very good question, Abiola. Thank you. But the because I saw it many times when I was involved doing group therapy, intense group therapeutic process month after month, like one weekend a month, or holding these kind of workshops. But at a certain point, you know, a lot of people report that shit, my friends are really getting on my nerves, my family, my kids, whatever. People at work, you know, all taking a piss out of me. They don't like that I'm changing, becoming more powerful, becoming more capable of holding a line, of stating my boundaries, of going for what I want. You know, some people out there in the world don't like to see that because it reminds them that they're not doing it. You know, they don't want to support you to do that. And the bottom line is, you got to decide if you're going to live for other people, if you're going to live for yourself. You know, there's no other way. There's no other way, Abiola. You have to decide at some point, am I going to live for me or am I going to live for other people? And, you know, sometimes you may have to drop friendships. You know, sometimes you may have to even drop your family for a while. You know, if they're not supporting your development, if they're bringing you down, they're threatened by the changes going on and new positive changes, then you got to look, who are you finally loyal to, you know? And I would say yourself, basically. Good question. I've had emotional release massaging my body. I'm messaging my body with salts. Do you have any ideas why? No, I don't have an idea why. But I think it could create some kind of muscular change, I guess. You know, it goes in the muscles and they start to spasm a bit. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I tried pills, but I think they're chemical manipulators, not digging through. Yeah, exactly. Sure. You can take, you know, you can take pills for depression, but of course it's not a long-term strategy. You know, you can take citalopram, you know, Prozac, fluoxetine analog, whatever. Dun, dun, dun. I know salt is getting excited. People are getting interested in salt these days. Hey, there's a salt room now in Brighton. I haven't been in there. Might give it a try sometime. Can emotions be trapped in the eyes? Well, I don't know if they're actually trapped in the eyes, but certainly see a lot of people, their eyes get very static, you know. And there's a therapy called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, which works specifically moving the eyes around in certain directions. And in bioenergetics, there's a whole school of bioenergetics working with the eyes, you know. If you look on my site, you'll find some guidance about working with the eyes. There's some different exercises. Often, like other bioenergetics, what you do is you move your eyes in one direction, you know, maybe having a little focus, and you stay there and you keep on breathing for like 10 minutes. Like that, you know, keeping your eyes on something, and you breathe for 10 minutes. And it's amazing that certainly the eyes access different areas of the brain, different types of memory by pointing the eyes in different directions. So I haven't done a lot of, it's good you mentioned that, because it would be good for me to do another video on that, review what I've done before, and maybe do another video on eye bioenergetics. There's a lot that you can get from eye bioenergetics, you know. So it's really worth considering. It really gets into the brain somewhere and starts to create some release sometimes. Some people are very, very, get big effect from it. Also things where you move your eyes around, a few Osho meditations where you do that, mandala meditation, you know. Doing that, you got to breathe and you got to keep letting your eyes circulate around the room to the extremes. And you got to keep it up for like 10, 15 minutes. You can't just give up when comfort addicted mind says give up. You know, you got to keep going. What is your first practice when you work in therapy with nice guys? Anger. Simple as that. Simple as that. If you can move people into anger, into real, you know, gut-centered feeling, raw anger, you know, if you can get them into that, then the nice guy is going to shift out the system very, very quickly. But, you know, it's not always possible for everyone to go in that direction. So sometimes you have to work around a bit. But basically, it's to do with anger. You know, that there's no faster route, and it makes obvious emotional sense if you think about it. And there's a lot of people working with nice guys with more cognitive approaches, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with a cognitive approach. It can be a good backup. But if you don't work with the anger, you've got to work with anger. You've got to work at a gut level. You're not going to find a nice guy who's connected to his belly. It's not going to happen, basically. What do you think about constant dancing? Well, it's okay. You want to constantly dance? It's cool. Probably pretty good for you. We're in a salty age, XD. Aha. Yeah, I've got to check out this salt thing a bit. It did intrigue me. I walked past a centre in Brighton a couple of weeks back, and it said salt centre, and it was doing salt therapy. Had a new special offer on. I might go and give it a try. Magnesium, yes, magnesium salt's often popular for muscle relaxation, and yes, that's a good point. Actually, I didn't think of that when you said salt, but certainly you can take magnesium. There's a certain powder form of magnesium. You can get it from Solgar, not Solgar, Viridian, I think. And you put a teaspoon of it in water and it foams like crazy. And as soon as it stops foaming, you just neck it. And some people get the most incredible relaxation from it because their body is magnesium deficient, basically. So it's one of those kind of wild card things you can always try if you're a therapist, or if you've got sore muscles. Give it a try. It never did much for me. Never noticed much difference. But some people swear by it. Some people put droppers of St. John's wort in, I seem to remember, as well. Dum dum dum. What's the best exercise for shutting up the mind's chatter? Well, you have to allow it to chatter, but try to keep feeling your body at the end of the day. Generally, the more you get your body open and the more you can feel your body, the less your mind will chatter over time. How do you move people in anger? You provoke? No, you don't provoke them. I don't provoke them. I go, no, mate. That'd be a good therapy if you could do that. No. If I'm working one-to-one, I'll use certain bioenergetic exercises which bring anger to the surface, and then I'll get them to practice actual release in a certain position. But I don't do this stuff on YouTube because it wouldn't be ethical or professional. You need to do it in a certain way and know what you're doing. But don't provoke them, though. Elliot Hull suggested an exercise once where you put music on and talk out loud for 30 minutes. The only catch is that you don't speak a word. Yeah, gibberish was classic with the Osho scene. The Osho scene used to love a bit of gibberish. And it's good. It's another great release. You don't have to put on super loud music. Just even background gibberish you can find from something called the Osho No Mind meditation. If you look up No Mind, I think it's a hyphen between no and mind. It contains 45 minutes of gibberish in it. You do that. It's a bit like the eye exercise. Some people get a really strong experience from gibberish, really strong. It lets their mind just unwind and release. And other people are a bit more 50-50. I was a bit more 50-50, but it's definitely worth a try. Good point. I should make a video about gibberish, eh? Definitely should do. Let me stick that down. Oh, coming near the end now. I found this great for getting in touch with more authentic partners. Yep. Really good suggestion, man. Can't beat a bit of gibberish. Sometimes I do it at the beginning of workshops for people to loosen up a bit without getting too much into the rage and stuff like that, The mind goes over situations in your life and you bypass the language barrier and get straight in touch with what's really going on inside. Yeah, exactly. So the anger is the emotion which causes most problems. No, I wouldn't say it's causing most problems. You see, anger is essentially healthy, People who basically think anger is wrong may have had bad experiences around angry people, but anger is the way that your body naturally rebalances itself and holds safe boundaries. So you just have to get clear with anger. And if you've got anger repressed in your system, you need to find a way to let it out. But it's best, that kind of work is quite intense and it's good to do it with a therapist like myself or someone else. Since I stopped sugar and carbs, the change I've experienced is crazy anxiety-wise. Well, certainly things like sugar will ramp up your anxiety, basically, No doubt about it, if you ask me. Stanley Rosenberg has also written the exercise for the eyes, but interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out sometime. Check that out. I've heard of him. What do you think about marijuana-induced body relaxation? Well, I used to smoke a lot of weed back in the day, like a lot of people do. But I don't think it's so healthy to take marijuana. When I was growing up, we all thought that weed was fucking great, in counterculture. It was just great. And every day, if you started with a joint, it would just be great, I think after it got legalized in a few countries like Spain and England and that, we started to see the reality basically, and it got illegalized again in both of those, I think, but it isn't so good for you really. I used to know this guy Tony around this place called Tony's Hemp Corner in King's Cross, THC, of course, which he thought was very witty, and he was selling it. He was the first guy in the UK selling it as medical marijuana. Got the Swiss stuff from that, but I'm not really convinced it's particularly healthy, to be honest. I don't think it's that good for you. Certainly, I was brought up in a generation where we worshipped cannabis, and thought it was a panacea for everything. Even though I became more of a punk than a hippie when I was in counterculture and wasn't so cannabis kind of orientated, still, I don't think it's so healthy. Really, there's nothing terribly wrong with having a joint, but I hardly do anymore. But I mean, I don't think it's particularly healthy, and I don't think it's good to get into it for body relaxation. You're better off with something which doesn't use drugs. Gibberish is Trump's mother language. Any tongue bioenergetics? I know you made sucking. Yeah, sucking or sticking your tongue out like the dragon's breath exercise. This kind of crazy look like they do in New Zealand, the haka, the Maori haka, that kind of stuff is a great release. Have you ever heard about the Nest system, which is scanning your body based on bioenergetics? No, I haven't, but do message me about that, Timo, because it sounds interesting. I've got to drop the stream in a minute because I'm coming to the end and I'm about to pop out. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Thank you. Yeah, Tim, drop me I think you're on one of the Telegram groups or something. Drop me a link about it. I'd like to read that. Okay, guys, have a good week. Don't listen to the comfort addicted mind too much. Okay, keep yourself in that edge of discomfort. It's good for you. Speak to you later and keep doing the bio.